Welcome to Insights, everyone. I am Nnamdi Odipo. By February 26, 2020, Nigeria had no single case of COVID-19. But then came the next day, February 27, and Nigeria recorded its first confirmed positive case of coronavirus. It's been nearly 3 months since then, and what started as a single case became a trickle and threatened to become a flood if not stopped. As the number of cases steadily increased, so also the number of states in the country with cases, of course. We'll be looking at what it means for the states impacted, but more importantly, how 2 states in Nigeria have managed to stay COVID-19 free. We'll also be looking at how families are contending with the changing times occasioned by the pandemic. As usual, my colleague Elizabeth OMORUYI is here with the media review segment. Elizabeth?
Well, it's good to be here again. On the media review segment this week, there's going to be a little twist. Now, culture is dynamic. Languages play important role in nation building. Our focus will be on public sensitization by the media, using indigenous language to relate to the people in the grassroots, the dangers of COVID-19. Have indigenous languages been able to let people know that this disease in question is real? That will be our focus on the media review segment. That will make
for an interesting discourse. I mean, journalists have done so much in sensitizing the populace on COVID-19, and they continue to do so. But for now, let's begin with our discussion on the COVID-19 free states in Nigeria. Well, if you do not know it yet, then know this. There are 2 COVID-19 free states in Nigeria as at Monday, May 11, 2020. And they are 1, the North Central state of Kogi, and 2 is Cross River State in South Nigeria. I had 2 top officials from these 2 states join me earlier, and they both spoke on what it means to be COVID-19 free and what preparations are on stream to mitigate impact in the event of likely infections. Commissioner for Health, Cross River State, Dr. Betta Edu, and Commissioner for Information, Kogi State, Kingsley Farwell, I want to welcome you both to Insight. You both share the rather unique status of being COVID-19 free as at Monday, May 11, 2020. Is that a function of optimal management of your window of opportunity to prepare as the number of infections grow across states? Dr. Edu, I would like to begin with you, please, because I know that Cross River State has never implemented a shelter-in-place directive since the corona pandemic hit Nigeria.
So basically, it's been a lot of work across the state thus far. We started very, very early. Thankfully, most of our preventive measures have paid off. If you can recall very well, we started as early as January. We set up the EOC, which is the Emergency Operations Center, in Calabar, Cross River State, and we brought in professionals, we brought in the medics, paramedics, military, and indeed everybody who we felt was a key stakeholder in this business, and we started working on prevention. I'm sure you remember we're one of the first states in Nigeria that did a lot of sensitization at rural areas. We did a lot of work with chiefs, community leaders, religious leaders to see that we can continue to send this message across. If you remember clearly, Cross River State was the very first state in Nigeria that started screening people who came in through our local airport. At this time, no case was recorded in Nigeria, no case was recorded in Africa, but we felt it was the right thing to do. I'm sure if you can recall, we were also the very first state in Nigeria that shut its borders to people from coming in both at the international angle, that's for Cameroon, and then of course other states like Akwa Ibom, Abia State, Ebonyi, Benue, and the rest of them. We shut our borders from people coming into our state. And so this is these were the different measures which we put in place to see that we can protect our people. and this has paid off for us. I'm sure you remember we're also the first state in the country that started the no mask, no movement.
Yes,
And
very true.
at that point, Nigeria felt it was quite strange. Nigeria felt it was quite strange, and so it is not what we should be doing at that particular point in time. Of course, I remember clearly the PPF and the DEEP others said no, the mask should just be for health workers. Every other person can go on without the mask and all of that. But
I would interrupt you here, Dr. Edu, and I would like to move over to the Information Commissioner, Kogi State. I would, Honorable Commissioner for Information, Kogi State, are your experiences similar to that of Cross River State, or perhaps you have done things differently to get you to where you are currently?
So, what our experience is quite similar to what Cross River State did. We embarked on aggressive sensitization of people right from the grassroots level. To us, the knowledge we have about this pandemic is that we must give ownership and responsibility to the people. It is not about locking down the economy, locking down social activities and all that. But the people must know their responsibilities. They must know the rest. For their personal hygiene and all that, to enable the people to understand what they need to do.
Fantastic. Dr. Edu, if you're still there with us, please, I would like to, please step in here and tell me at what point your state will be willing to conduct testing for COVID-19. Or is that already in the works?
We have been conducting testing, but we don't have the test lab in Cross River. We have the sample kit, and we have been taking samples, and we'll be sending these samples to Irua and Ebonyi State. But right now, we've been told that our own lab in Irua is been a very difficult process for us because it takes almost 24 hours for samples to go from Cross River State to Irua, which is in a dual state with a lockdown. But we've been doing it, so we've been testing persons who meet the criteria or who come up with signs and symptoms. We test them, we send them to the lab, and we'll continue to do so. So for us, case sample collection is what we've been doing, and we'll continue to do when cases present themselves. Cases present themselves. All the samples we have sent to the lab have come back negative. We do have a lab in Washington State, the lab in Louisville, and in Ebonyi State, and so the testings were done there, and the results were given to us, and the results are negative. We will continue to do this as we progress when we find people who meet the criteria.
Honorable Commissioner for Information, Kogi State, I read your comments on the quarantine directive by the Kogi State Governor to the NCDC team, which visited your states last week. In fact, it's generated some sort of I don't know, back and forth between the states, Kogi State government and NCDC. Some would say you are overtly confident in your quest to stay COVID-19 free. Are you perhaps considering conducting your own test in your own time?
Yeah, definitely. We've been sending samples to Abuja. NCDC is aware that they've been working on a lot of samples from Kogi State. All the samples sent have all tested negative, but we are also going to unveil our isolation centers and containment centers today, and our kits are also readily available in the state. So we are going to consider that very strongly because we are fine to that process.
Madam Commissioner, your boss, your principal blazed, and you just mentioned that a couple of minutes ago, blazed the trail with the no mask, no movement directive. However, we have been getting some feelers from your state that enforcement may have waned significantly for that matter. Is that true? Please also give us an update on the closure of the Itu-Bridge boundary with Akwa Ibom State.
Okay, so basically the no mask, no movement that we said started in Cross River State, and it's one of the preventive measures we put on board to see that we can continue to keep this virus out of our DSG, and it's still ongoing. Over 1.2 million masks have been produced, and have been given out to citizens free of charge in Cross River State. There is a task force in the urban areas and in fact in some rural areas that have been enforcing to see that people use the mask. The compliance has been at different degrees in different areas. So in urban areas, we have close to 90% compliance, but in the rural areas, it's a little below that. And we want to see that we can continue to step up this task force enforcement across board. We'll set up mobile courts that will help us to try persons who do not use their mask, because we believe if you don't do so, it's not in the interest of the public. And of course, our law does not allow you to do that when you're not using your mask, could put another person at risk. Like I said, the House of Assembly in Cross River State has recently passed a law for the block at E2. Once it's 6 o'clock, there's a complete close down to both essential and non-essential commodities. But during the day, we allow only essentials, that's petroleum products and food, to come into our state. Outside that, no one is allowed to come in. This bridge is a place where even the Governor Center for Sovereign Ayage himself has spent a night there trying to ensure that we can protect this bridge and keep our people safe. It's a lot of work. Cross River State is investing a lot of money to keep the border secure. We've called on the federal government to come in and help us several times, and we're still hopeful that they would come in to support us, especially as it concerns the international border in the state. Remember that Cameroon borders the state all the way from Abandiko down to Africa.
Indeed, we saw pictures of the governor spending the night at the two-bridge boundary with Akwa Ibom State. We're hoping that he might, or he would continue to press on the issue of sensitization, on the effect and impact of COVID-19. But I'll move over to Kogi State now. I am sure the people of Kogi State are as anxious as those in affected states because you never just know when it might come your way. How is the state government managing the issue of fear, rumor, and fake news so as to stop people from engaging in practices that might endanger their lives and escalate anxiety?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's the responsibility of the State Ministry of Information and Communication, as well as the Ministry of Health. We've been sensitizing, we've been informing and enlightening our people. We've been doing daily briefings to let the people have updates of what we are doing. And the State Covering Committee against COVID-19 has also been engaging in daily briefings. So our people are well informed. So when they hear of those rumors coming from corners that want COVID-19 to be spread to all the states of the Federation, our people understand better.
Let me stay with you, Honorable Commissioner for Information. I know we have talked about it, the issue of what has transpired or what transpired between Kogi State and NCDC. Or what is the status as of now? What do we know?
About what?
About your, well, I wouldn't describe it as a face-off, but the directive for NCDC officials to undergo quarantine before coming to assist your state in containing a likely infection of COVID-19. Are you willing to accept assistance from the NCDC, or perhaps what criteria or conditions are you setting before NCDC and its team can come into Kogi State? Has that changed, or you're insisting on your position?
We are ready to accept help from any agency organization that can help strengthen our preparedness for COVID-19. We want to defend the well-being and health care of our people, and we would take help and accept help from any genuine helper. They came into the States, and the governor told them that they are welcomed and that he was ready to work with them. But they refused to follow their own protocols. So it wasn't a disagreement between the state government and NCDC, so to say, but a disagreement between NCDC and their own protocols. So we would expect them to come back to strengthen our efforts here, but also they will have to follow the protocols. We didn't set these rules. aid.
Dr. Betta Edu, I would ask you the same question I just asked the Commissioner for Information, Kogi State, about and how to manage fear, rumor, and fake news. How have you been contending with all of that in Cross River State?
I think when the information is out and people are sensitized, you have to deal less with all of those drama. For me, we continue to tell our people through every means possible on how they can prevent it, what they should look out for, and whom to call when there is any suspected case. And so our people have gradually understood how to go beyond and above this. In time past, we've had situations where you just hear this scare, this place has someone who is infected, no name, no number, no address, nothing. But gradually all of that has fizzled out. Our people are more confident in what the state government is doing, and they are able to respond appropriately when they hear such things.
Or did you co-opt the civil society into efforts on sensitization in Cross River State? And how exactly is that working out for you?
One of our strongest points. We started very, very early. We sensitized people both at the rural areas, hard to reach areas, and indeed everywhere. We did a lot of work around that, and we'll continue to sensitize them. I believe that when people are informed, it will be difficult to misinform them, it will be difficult to confuse them, it will be difficult to peddle false rumors, and we will continue to have our desensitization. Everyone is together at the same page on the fight against COVID-19, and it's our collective effort and the grace of God that has helped us travel thus far.
Commissioner Information, Kogi State, I'll move over to you now, and please give us a sense of what the feelers you have been getting from the field in terms of the people's reaction to some of your efforts in preparing them for the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, give us a sense of the general feeling and ambience you get from the people.
I think the people are very happy with the efforts of the state government at containing the spread of the virus. It's working fine. The web link of the state has been visited by over 250,000 users, and we have been in touch with our people. I think they are very happy with what is happening, and they are so much aware of their responsibilities in ensuring they don't contract the virus. So I think the general feeling is great.
Dr. Betta, your principal, Governor Ayade, has a background in microbiology and environmental microbiology. How has that helped boost your knowledge and appreciation as a state now and a community on how to manage this whole issue of coronavirus in Nigeria?
I think my governor has just been exceptional. He's brought his ingenuity, his selflessness, his his professional intelligence, sector-specific intelligence into play in this response. There's one governor who sits through the situation room. It's one governor who follows the secret every other minute. There's one governor who has been part of the task force, even though I'm the chairman of the task force. He would always listen. He would give the best of ideas. He would give his contributions. He's always hands-on, and he's leading from the front, and we're very proud of his proactive nature since this whole COVID-19 came on board. I'm sure you've heard my governor. He's also spoken in different forums on what the COVID-19 is and how he believes states can approach it. So we've had to make defense in several forums through several mediums just to say, look, scientifically, this is right, this is wrong. Even when Nigeria does not accept what he's saying, at the end of the day, we still get back to the other point.
Commissioner for Health, Cross River State, Dr. Betta Edu, and Commissioner for Information, Kogi State, Kingsley Farwell, I want to thank you both for coming on Insight. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
From COVID-19 free states in Nigeria, we move on to our people and communities managing the direct and indirect consequences of the pandemic. The coronavirus pandemic has upended the world as we know it, and most families are feeling the brunt, with parents and kids adjusting to school closures, working remotely, and physical distancing. All in all, it's a lot to navigate for most families that I know. We thought to get a glimpse of how families are coping at this time, and we caught up with the Oche family here in Life Camp Abuja. Let's bring you that interview. Mr. and Mrs. Oche, and of course other members of the family, thank you indeed for agreeing to share your experiences with us. 5 weeks ago, you were the subject of a news report here on the NTA, which focused on how families were adjusting to the lockdown at that time. Well, compare that time and now, and I will start with you, Mrs. Oche. Please tell me what has changed for you personally since the lockdown was relaxed.
Because in my own section of work, we're still locked down, where our family business, we're into aviation and tourism services. And of course, we know that aviation and tourism is a good hit in this situation. So we're still locked down, really at home, this I must say. The only thing I have done is to have gone out to top up the things we had at home before. What we had before was to last us for like 6 weeks. And of course, we've been at home now for 7 weeks. So last Saturday, I was able to go out to the market to get 1 or 2 things. Then another thing I did was to also try to pay our staff their salary. But I tried not to get into the bank. I wrote an instruction and begged my account officer to help us sort it out because I don't do online banking. It's only my small personal salary account. That's where I do my online banking from. So it was on my own, I invested all I had there. So really, we're still long time here because what are we going out there to do? Nothing is happening in our own sector. So nothing to do out there. So we're still all in the house. I and my husband were both business people. And in our own section of business, like I said, nothing is working yet. So we're still here at home and praying that the virus should just go so that we can get back our lives.
Indeed, that's our prayer across Nigeria. Mr. Oche, I'll come to you now. What has changed for you personally as well since the partial easing of the lockdown?
Nothing really, like she said, nothing really much, not too much really. Because the only thing that eased up is people are free to move about and the like. But the economy is still shut down.
Indeed. I look at you and it's clear you have a large family. I mean, I can literally see the size of the family as I look at you. One of the good sides to what is playing out currently across the world is the increase in family bonding. Mr. and Mrs. Oche, what kind of questions do the kids ask you? I mean, they are all at home about the coronavirus pandemic. And are you open and totally honest in your answers to them when they ask you these questions? And does it make them feel afraid?
Of course, I'm telling the youngest, it's always asking all sorts of questions, especially about this. In fact, the other day he was asking me, what's the number now in Nigeria? What's the number in the world? How come it's not reducing? So what is going to happen to us? Are we going to remain inside the house? Of course, I told him so. For now, we have to be inside the house until the world heals. I tried to let him know and show him on the fact that I have to not to say, that place where they see the figures. Then during NC, I also put it to show him that you can see the figures for Nigeria. I think that the Nigeria was the day we had about 500 and something recovery and 3,932. That was the other day he was asking me that I have to be placed to him. Somehow they are also scared, but they know that, of course, they are scared of going out because I have told them that if you go out, you don't know what will happen. So they are relaxed at home and they are not scared at home because their mom is here, dad is here, and they have their cousins and their brother. Of course, his brother is me, the one that asked questions, his brother, his brother, their cousins and all. Everybody is here. So we're not missing anything. We're happy together, all of us.
Mr. Oche, Oche, I'm sure you get questions as well, like your wife does. You're the man. Men are known to be macho, and sometimes they are not. They don't come all out front and up front with answers to difficult questions. They would rather the women attend or answer such questions. Have you been faced with such situation since you've been at home? I was actually talking to Mr. Oche now. I was wondering if he gets just as much difficult questions like you get, and whether or not he's upfront and honest with his answers to the kids.
They're already coming their information from the internet. So the best is now. Part of the next information. But pretty much the answer
let me ask your 20-year-old this question. I understand you have a 20-year-old in the house there. I'm sure you miss school and your friends as well. How difficult has it been for you as an adult realizing the magnitude of the health challenge we have on our hands?
It's been very difficult realizing the magnitude of the health challenge, because obviously people out there are getting sick and people are dying. So coming to face that reality as a person, especially someone who is in the healthcare sector, it can be very challenging and difficult. And also, life as we know it has changed. Our daily routine has completely changed. So we have to adjust to everything. It's been difficult, but it's been fine. We've been doing well so far. So.
Great. I'll pick the younger kids now, one at a time. I'll start with the one sitting on the lap of the dad now, Mr. Oche. Tell me about, tell me how much you've missed school and your friends in school and classes. I'll begin with the one on the dad's lap. Yes, please, you. Okay, I'll go to your brother then. I'll quickly move on to your brother sitting beside the mom, in between the dad and the mom. How about you? How much have you missed school so far? Are you still missing school and your friends? Okay, so let's quickly move on to the one after the mom. Sitting to the right of the mom. Tell me a bit of how you have been able to use the visual learning experience. How has it been for you, learning from home this time?
Not been too bad. I get to see my classmates and all my friends. And I would say that I'm doing some doing some identity, don't get to do and also the online classes are not broadcast.
Okay, so I'll talk to the young ladies behind your parents. There are a couple of you out there. I think I see like 3 of you. And I'll just take you one at a time and very quickly too. Tell me how much it has been for you, the experience of, in the first place, we had the shelter at home, shelter in place, I beg your pardon, where we all had to stay at home for a couple of weeks. How was that experience for you, and coming out of that experience, are there lessons you've learned? Any of you can answer, really.
But for now, we're not going to CDS, bring biometrics. So they asked us to stay back at home for some time before they will ease the lockdown.
Okay. Okay, I'll come back to your parents now, Mrs. Oche. I know you're at the receiving end of the cry for food. In most families that we've visited this period, or that we've spoken to, we notice that it's practically the same everywhere. The struggle for food, families having to realign and readjust how they either ration or manage their stock that they have at home. How have you been able to cope in that regard?
Okay, coming to rationing, I am not rationing house, yeah? But then we're managing it. And the way we manage it is try to eat at the same time. We do our normal things 3 times a day, but then if you see no kids now, they always ask for one thing or the other. So nothing, but we still have some fried dinner and biscuits and other snacks left in the house. In fact, one of my parents here, Veronica, she knows how to make popcorn and all those things. People evangel, all of us. So sometimes we make those snacks and we don't keep aside in case when you feel you want something else that you can chew, you can get in the feed and chew. But so far, so good. Like I said, I stocked up the house the first time. A lot of things which I have gone to replenish again. So for the only thing I can say for sure that has worked well, gone well in this house is the aspect of the fact that we have enough food to eat in the house.
Okay.
Today. But I don't think what will happen if this thing continues in the next 2-3 months. But for now, we're good. We're not rationing food, but we're managing whatever we have. And we still share for people because a lot of people are hungry, really. Every day I wake up to my phone, I see messages from friends, I need this, I need that. And of course, I can't really watch somebody hungry. So I think I as much as possible to extend whatever I can extend to next door.
Mr. Oche, I'm sure you're aware, and in the events that you do not know, your story is similar to that of thousands of families across the country, hundreds of thousands, I dare say. How financially difficult has this period been, or rather, how financially difficult has it been managing a family of this size during this period? I'm sure it hasn't been a piece of cake for you, or has it?
This is the network service of the NTA. We now join